Hi guys, welcome to another new video, and in today's video we are going to be looking at perimeter and area. I think for starters, some of you might be confused between the difference. You may mix up the two, or you may not know when to use the formula. So I'm going to just do a very quick breakdown on the differences of perimeter and area. Okay, most importantly, when you are told to find the perimeter, please remember that means that you need to add, alright, addition. What do you add? Add all the sides of the figure. Okay, I'm going to show you an example in a while. Whereas for area, alright, doesn't involve addition at all. For area, you have to multiply. Alright, and what do you multiply? Basically, you multiply the length times the breadth. If you're talking about a rectangle. Okay, I'm just going to show you an example so you understand me better. Okay, so let's take a look at these two rectangles I have here. Let's say they are the same, and I think they look pretty much similar. I tried. Okay, so let's say you are told to find the perimeter of the figure, right? Okay, before that, we need to know the measurements of the figure, right? So let's say the length of this rectangle is 20 centimeters, all right? They are both the same. So the length is 20 centimeters and the breadth is 5 centimeters, okay? So the breadth is 5 centimeters. Alright, now let's get started finding the perimeter of the figure. So the perimeter would be to add, am I right? So you add all the sides. That means, I'm going to trace it for you so it's going to be extra clear for you. Please follow closely to my yellow highlighter. We add all the sides, alright? Let's start from here. So it's 5 plus 20 plus 5 plus 20. Alright, did you get that? I'm going to write it down. So it's 5 plus 20 plus 5 plus 20. And so the perimeter gives you 50 centimeters. Okay, that's what the perimeter means. On the other hand, if you are told to find the area, alright, no addition involved. Remember, it is the length multiplied by the breadth. Okay, and again, follow closely with my yellow highlighter. Let's do length times breadth. Alright, length, so it's 20 times 5. Alright, so it's 20 times 5, and that gives you 100 squared centimeters. Okay, so you see the difference? It's actually very different. Perimeter, it's 50, whereas area, it's 100. Okay, and also notice the difference in unit. For perimeters, the unit comes in centimeters, whereas for areas, the unit comes in squared centimeters. I'm going to write it down here so that it's clear for you to see. And for area, it's centimeters squared. So remember the squared up here. Alright, so let's spend the next few minutes going through some examples. Okay, so let's take a look at this first example. I'm going to make it a very straightforward example. Before we begin, remember that for perimeter, you add, and that the units will be centimeter, whereas for area you multiply and the units will be centimeters squared. Alright, now let's begin with a very straightforward figure. Okay, now let's try to find the area and perimeter together. So remember, I mentioned before that when it comes to perimeter, you add all the sides together. So we always begin at one side. So let's begin from here. Let's add together 15 plus 30 plus 15 plus 30. That's one round already. Okay, so let's write down perimeter equals 15 plus 30 plus 15 plus 30. And that essentially gives you 90. Okay. On the other hand, for the area, Remember, area is length times breadth. So let's trace it together again. 30 times 15, because length times breadth. It's really straightforward, isn't it? So it's 30 times 15, and that gives you 450 centimeters squared. Remember your units, okay? 90 centimeters and 450 squared centimeters. Okay, units are very, very important because they tell you what it is. You can't have an area with a centimeter only unit. Okay, so remember, you need to add this. Alright guys, I'm back with another example that is not so straightforward this time. As you can see, the figure I have here is not really a square, and neither is it a rectangle. It's actually made up of two rectangles together, if you can see that. And this kind of figure is called a composite figure, which means that it is made up of many figures together. Alright, so I'm going to teach you how to find the perimeter and area of such a figure. Okay, now for the perimeter, there is actually two ways to do it. One easier and straightforward way, and one more a longer way. Alright, I'm going to do both just so that you can understand both ways. Okay, again, remember, to find the perimeter, you need to add up all sides. Alright, always begin at a certain corner. I'm going to begin here, and I'm going to even use a highlighter to mark it so that I can remember where I begin, and always make sure you end at the same point. So let's begin. Please trace along with me. It's 40 plus 50 plus unknown, 10 and 5. So we have an unknown over here, and we have an unknown over here. Now looking at the figure, do you think we can find out what these two unknown sides are? Take a moment to look at the picture. Do you realize that this side and this side actually gives you this whole thing? Do you see that? So that means, if you don't get it, please rewind and listen to it again. So that means that 10 plus 30 here gives you a total of 40. Yep, so you found one unknown side, which is 30. Okay, now let's move on to the second unknown side. This time around, I'm going to use a green highlighter. So let's follow the green highlighter. You do realize that 5 plus this gives you this whole thing of 50? Yes? So if this is 5, then this would be 45. Yeah? So now that you have found all sides, we can go ahead to find our perimeter. I'm not going to trace it anymore because the whole figure is full of colors now. You can trace it yourself. Just make sure you start here and end here. Alright? So now it's 40 plus 50 plus 30 plus 45 plus 10 plus 5. That gives you 180. Alright, I'm going to call this method 1. So let's move on to method 2. Method 2 is much more straightforward. Alright, let's start here. Let's make a mark. And let's go 40 plus 50. I'm going to change a green highlighter. 40 plus 50. So this more straightforward way, you can do it like this: 40 plus 50 plus 40 plus 50. That also gives you 180. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you are using method 1 or method 2. Method 1 may look a bit more tedious, but method 1 could actually be clearer for some of you who can't follow. Method 2 is very straightforward and fast, but it requires you to be able to visualize better. If you think it's a bit too difficult for you, you can just stick with method 1. There is nothing wrong with it. Alright, the most important thing is getting the answer at the end of the day, and both methods will bring you to the answer. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead to figure out the area for this figure. So let's take a look at that. Alright, so here I have the same figure and I'm going to find the area. Your first thought might be that this is not a square, neither is it a rectangle. So how do I determine the length and the breadth? Right, remember area is length times breadth. So you need to determine the length and the breadth. So in such a case, the only way to solve this problem is actually to break up the figure. I'm going to show you how to do it. You can either do it this way or this way. Right, either way is fine, either way will work. I'm just going to show you how to do it, okay? I'm going to call this figure P and figure Q. Okay, so let's find the area of figure P. Okay, now area of figure P is length times breadth. What is the length of P? It's 5 times 10. Alright, really straightforward. Okay, 5 times 10, and this gives you 50 square centimeters here. Alright, now P is done. Let's move on to Q. Area of Q, it's length times breadth. Length is 50. What is the breadth? Can you find that out? Remember in the perimeter just now, I told you that if this is 10 and this is 40, then what is this? It's 30, isn't it? So I'm going to write down this is 30. So length times breadth, that will give me 50 times 30. Alright, I'm going to show it to you again. 50 times 30. Length times breadth. Alright, that gives me 1500 square centimeters. So the total area, okay, I'm running out of space, so I'm just going to write it here. The total area would then be P plus Q, which is 50 plus 1500, which gives me that is my answer, 1550 square centimeters. I won't be doing any more video examples because I think the video is dragging on too long. But just leave me a comment if you think it's unclear, and I would definitely do another one for you. Alright, thank you, and I hope this helps.